looking at different business models that indeed require supply chain, which I want to believe is almost everyone. Either you're going through the whole process or you're part of the process. Just a polite reminder, we do have translation going on. So feel free to click the globe button so that you can be able to follow us in the language that suits you. And we kindly request that you be muted at all times, just to make sure that we have a very good conversation. We can be able to listen to one another. We will get to a point where we will invite you to speak. And at that point, we kindly request that you use the globe feature. No, you use the raise hand feature so that we can be able to spot you and give you an opportunity to speak, either asking a question or contributing to the discussion that we are going to have. In the meantime, if you do have any question and answer during this session, we kindly request you that you use the Q&A feature to communicate. I have seen people use the chat to ask questions. We kindly request that today, let's try to use the Q&A and we'll be able to spot your question and be able to ask that to our speaker today. Again, most welcome. Today is our 8th session, and today we do have an exciting speaker who is not new to us. His name is Sammy Kariuki. Coincidentally, we share the same name. And Sammy has been gracious enough now, want to believe, for the 3rd year, providing training to previous cohort. And today he will be taking us through supply chain management, an interesting topic that is relevant to most of us. And definitely be able to share with us his credentials. But I do know Sammy as an experienced supply chain leader, having led an export processing company working with hundreds of smallholder farmers. Yeah, so today we have, for the next 2 hours, we listen to Sammy sharing with us more on supply chain. Sammy with us is a group of restoration enterprises from across African countries, are ready to learn, and yeah, looking forward to hearing from you. So welcome, Sammy. Feel free to introduce yourself and maybe give an overview of the session. And then from there, feel free to deep dive on the training. Yeah, thanks. Sammy, you can hear us?
Yes, okay. I'm just setting myself.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So good evening, good morning, everyone. My name is Sammy Kariuki, calling in from Nairobi, Kenya, and I'm very happy to be with you this evening or this morning, depending on where you are at, to little walk through this topic on supply chain management, a topic that is really I like because I've been involved or previously involved in an export business, and also I've been supporting quite a number of entrepreneurs on the same. So my name, as I said, I'm Sammy Kariuki, and I'm actually an agribusiness specialist, having worked for over 18 years in diverse agricultural value chains. And I do run consulting. I'm a consultant. I do have a consulting firm, and I also work with as a head of programs with Mount Kenya Hub. And even right now, we're supporting the Land Accelerator project within the Greater Rift Valley. But before this, which I've been doing for the past 10 years, I used to work with an export company where I started working from a very junior position, working in the raw material department. And I think that's why I became very good with the supply chain management, heading all the way to becoming the general manager of a 2 billion Kenya shillings enterprise that we were turning over. So now being in charge of all the operations from the marketing side, getting orders from our customers, what we used to call planting programs, because we used to export to Europe. And of course, for them, you have to have like an annual plan in terms of what you're going to buy from, they're going to buy from you. And now you start to engage farmers, contract farmers. We get thousands of farmers. And then from there, it's now taking it to the processing factories. Then after that, transporting it to the, to the airport for export. So that is what I did now before starting the consulting. And I worked with that company for over 10 years, because even before joining university, I used to work with them. So, and of course, then now with that, I've been involved in so many projects in, promoting market-driven agricultural development, and I've done over 23 of them. And this actually involves working with smallholder farmers, trying to bring them into the formal value chain. And I'm sure that is what you're trying to do as entrepreneurs, trying to see how can you formalize engagement with your suppliers, who in this case could be smallholder farmers. So those are things that I've been able to do. The issue of financial inclusion, making sure that these farmers have been able to get financing, therefore input and all that. And also issues to do with climate smart agriculture, because of course, for us to have consistent supply of produce, there's need to really see how you can adopt technologies in the farming, both at farm level and also at processing level. And of course, with that also is trying to see how do we support businesses become more inclusive by working with, be it smallholder farmers, be it women and youth. So all those are things that I've been able to do. And of course, I've been able to consult for quite a number of organizations, including Conservation International, IUCN, UNIDO, SNV, EWF, and of course, as I said, the WRI, we are working with them through Mount Kenya Hub as a consultant. So my degree is in agribusiness management and also an MSc in the same. And also I've done business modeling, innovation, and also other certifications of different stakeholders. Yeah, so that's who I am, and those are my contacts. So you feel free to engage even after this forum. Now, to go into our topic for the day. So today we'll be walking through this is a presentation outline where we shall be looking about the introduction, really introducing the supply chain management, walking through supply chain management process, the decision phases that we have to follow, the strategic sourcing process that we have to integrate, the issues with the logistics and IT, information technology, because of course we've seen information technology being very key to make our work easier. Also look at planning and forecasting, which is really important. Inventory management, so the inventory management models, because of course you need to make sure that you manage your stock effectively, so that again, either you don't have a lot of stock or you end up having dead stock, or maybe even have less, then you have issues with your customers. Also look at performance measures, maybe how then do you evaluate to see whether the supply chain is really leading towards positive impact into your business. And also finally, think about some problems that we have in supply chain management. So those are the things that we'll be looking into. And of course, I will just give a sort of a case study. We see, some of this, especially the parameters in terms of financial models, what it means, in terms of supply chain management. And after that, we also have a breakout session where we shall now go and discuss as a team and see probably some of these issues and how they impact on the business. Yeah, so now on part of the introduction, I'll just highlight what supply chain management is, then look at what are the key components of the supply chain, then look at the process flow, the implementation steps, the advantages, and also, as we proceed. Yeah, that's better for me. Now, so I know when we were sent the agenda for today, we were asking ourselves, maybe what is this supply chain management? And as you can see on the right side, as you can see the image that shows the process, just to in a simple way to describe what it is. So supply chain management involves a lot of activities, when you look at it, because you have to plan, you have to control, you have to execute the flow of products. And this is right from buying raw materials from your suppliers. It could be farmers, it could be another source, all the way to the production and also to distribution to the final customer in the most streamlined and cost-effective way possible. Because you have to make sure that whatever your activities are as efficient, as convenient, and of course as cost-effective as possible. So as you can see, it cuts from the raw materials to the suppliers to the manufacturing. You also do the manufacturing for example, those involved in, let's say, avocado. Maybe you have a factory where you put them into the boxes and all that. That's still part of adding value to the distribution to your customers, to the retailer if you're dealing with the retail, and also to the final customer. So you have to ask yourself, what are these activities? So which I think there are quite many. So that's why you need to be very keen as you really come up with your supply chain management plan. So as you can see from here, there are various components. So there's the product flow, as you can see. There's an arrow, the one at the top, showing the product, moving from the supplier. As I said, this could be like maybe your farmer, the farmers, if you are outsourcing from your farmers, then you come and manufacture, you're adding value to whatever you're getting from your farmers. Then from there, you have to distribute to your customers. It could be retailers, it could be even wholesalers in some cases. And then after that, you have the end consumer or the customer. So that's how the product flows. But also there's the flow of information, because you see, for us, and I think there's one thing I would want to encourage you, is you need to ask yourself, how can you adopt market-driven production? Market-driven production. And this is where you make sure that you can estimate what the customers need. Sit down with them, get to know what do they need. It could be on an annual basis, it could be on a quarterly basis, it could be on a monthly basis, because that's how then you're able to plan effectively for how much then you then need to engage your suppliers. How much do you need to source from your suppliers? If it's a case for planting for a longer term, at least you have that plan, and you're going to plant based on the customer needs. So that's why you can see there's that arrow of the information, information flowing from the customers back the way to the suppliers. And I know I'll be able to explain this and expound it as we continue. But that is really, really important. And I think, as you've seen, maybe that's why we go wrong, most of us, if we plan without not knowing what the customers need. So it's really, really important to get that information from your customers. So in today's discussion, I'll keep on mentioning, maybe give you an example of an export value chain, because it's something that I have done for many, many years. So as you can see, the supply chain, on that side, you see a hard with the seeds. That is where the process starts. You procuring the seeds from the input suppliers, going to plant it, and then you see there's a crop, in the field, they're growing there. Then after that, you get the crop from the farms, using the transport, you take it to the like a warehouse where you first of all, let's say keep it fast before you take it for processing. So as you can see in this case, this is what we call like for export products, French beans, snow peas, and all that. So they are, first of all, once they come from the truck, you have to recool them first, to bring the temperatures down, because that's how we also manage quality. Because I know as we continue, we shall also think and hear about the importance of quality control and all that. So then after that, you take it to the factory for processing, then you get your final product. Maybe then after that, you need to package it further, or even like, as you can see that showing 1 to 2 degrees centigrade, is where you then still, cool it again before you dispatch it. Then after that, the logistics now from your warehouse to the customers. So in this case, maybe it's through the air. In other cases, it could still be through the trucks, could be through motorbikes. So it depends with the product that you're looking at. But as you can see, all those things, they are things that we have to do, to be able to deliver value to our customers. Yeah, so we have to do all those activities to make sure that we deliver value to our customers. Yes, and that is now, as we do this, I know we are going to also highlight about the measures and all that, but I wanted, as we start this discussion, let's see and think of how the supply chain management affects our business now in financial terms. So as you can see this, there are issues to do with the cost of raw materials. How much are you buying at the raw materials from your customers? So we will see as we continue, how that really determines, our profitability and how we're going to also get some money from our business. Because remember, we're in business, we also capture value. Capturing value means you're also able to generate income out of it and make a margin out of it. So, you need to ask us about yourself, the cost of raw materials, revenue from the goods sold, you need to think about all those, the inventory holding cost. If, for example, you have to pay farmers before you sell or before your customers pay you, there's that, you have to hold that in inventory. So maybe holding that may cost you, maybe you have to go even get an overdraft so that you pay your farmers first before you process the materials. We also need to think about transportation costs. How much does it cost you to get your product from the farms to the pack house or the facility all the way to the customers? So, all those costs need to be looked into. There's also the issue of cost of expired perishable goods. Some products may go bad actually if you don't manage your stocks effectively. So, that brings a cost. So how do we also mitigate against that? There's also the issue of the cost of goods returned by customers. Sometimes we find our customers returning goods. I'm sure you've seen, even go to a supermarket, then you return a good and maybe they don't, even if it's milk, for example, you don't end up paying. So they exchange you with a different package. I'm sure those are things that you've seen. So that also becomes a cost, which is still associated with our supply chain. And also the cost of goods returned to suppliers. Sometimes you also have to also take back to the customer, to the supplier. So, as we continue with this, let's look at some of those key parameters that affect our business, now in terms of financial terms, because those are things that we need to look into as we continue. And now that brings me, I know maybe you have been walked through the business model canvas, thinking about your business model. So you realize that the supply chain, touches on quite a number of areas of your business model. The first 4 components on the customer segment, the customer relationship, the channels, the value proposition, let's talk about creating value, customer that you're creating value for. So these channels, when we see the channels, how we deliver our products to the customers. So that's how the supply chain, comes in, including also the customer relationship. You need to get feedback from your customers. If there's something happens to your product, it's not meeting the expectations, you need to make sure that you get that information and see how best you can react and or rather improve on their feedback based on your product. So you need to see how best do you manage those relationships. The issue of value proposition also, the quality of the product, is it high quality? That also is determined by how effectively you manage the supply chain. So when you look at the key activities, the key resources, the key partners, that's now really talks about, that is very key to the supply chain, because that's how you deliver value. You deliver value through doing a multiple of activities. And for you to do that, you require a number of resources. Maybe you require to have a truck, or you require to, get someone or lease a truck. You require the team, to either go get product from the farmers, all those things. Yeah, so that's what it means in terms of the delivering value to our customers. Now, in terms of the operations management. Then when you look at down there, there's what we're calling the cost structure, the revenue streams. So now the supply chain management really affects your the cost structure, and that's why we are asking, what is your raw material cost? That's what I was just mentioning here. The raw material cost per kg, the transportation cost per unit or per kg, So you see, it directly affects your business model. And that's why it's very critical. And I'm sure that's why even WRI is very keen on this, to make sure that at least you get to get a bit of insight into the supply chain management, because it's really affect and directly impact your business model. Now, moving on, this is still part of the introduction. So for the supply chain management, there are like, three key, or rather two sides of it. So there's a supply side. The supply is where you're getting the product from before you process it, if you are going to process it. And then the demand side is now the customers. Starting on the demand side, and of course, maybe there's a customer. Starting on the demand side, as I said, it's really important to make sure that you get to know what the market needs. So in this case, as you can see there is what we're calling the first tier customer and the second tier. So maybe, for example, now in like our export business, and maybe I'm sure some of us are involved in that, you find that you don't sell directly to the supermarket, that, maybe, for example, as in the UK or such a thing, but you supply through the agents. So that's why you see there could be like two people before you get to the head customer. So that's what it means. So you need to ask yourselves, this chain, who are these, which are these multiple stages that my product gets before it gets to the head customer? Because if there are so many people along the way, the quality that gets to the customer may be affected, which also may impact on your product. And just to give an example, in our case, when you take a product, maybe it's rejected by the supermarket, you have then again to go through the agent, and all those still comes back to you as a cost. So it's really, really important to see how best you get to go to know the tiers of your customers. Then again, on the other side, also the suppliers. Again, it's good to know. Maybe, for example, it's you want to buy, seedlings. Maybe the seedlings, goes through another. Maybe it could be an agro dealer, but of course, it's somebody who is preparing them or preparing the seed or the seedlings. But now they supply or distribute through an agro dealer within your area or an agrovet. So again, you need to look at that, because sometimes you may buy a seed and it has an issue. So, tracing that back becomes a big problem, So it's good to really know who are these people who are supplying me this, because then you are able to know how you can trace back and follow in case of an issue. Because sometimes, and I'm saying this from experience, you could buy seedlings or seeds, you plant them, they don't germinate. Who do you go to? Do you go to the manufacturer? Do you go to the distributor? Do you go to the agro dealer, who has supplied that to you? So it's really important to look into that. And of course, as you can see, this is still showing how the products are flowing and also the information. So the information is very critical, because that's how you make decisions, making informed decisions based on the information that you receive. So in terms of the components of the key actors, and I'm sure there are quite a number of actors along the chains that we deal with, even in our businesses. So you realize that from the supply side, and I'm sure this is something that we'll be looking into as you go to the breakout rooms, who are your suppliers? You need to know who are these key actors on the supply side, who supplies me with the raw materials. Whether you're involved even in the seedlings or tree nursery, there's a supply of the seedling. Whether you are dealing with avocados, there are the smallholder farmers maybe that you've been able to source from. So you need to really know who are these key, suppliers that, supplies me. Then when it comes to the manufacturing, again, maybe you could be doing it in your warehouse, or you could also be outsourcing. It's good to really know, again, who are these people that you could even also be able to partner with, just to get to understand the stages of the supply chain. Then the issue of distribution and warehousing. Maybe I've seen there are those, maybe you have your own warehouse, but there are also others who lease their warehouse. So you need to again know how do you get to, really store your product effectively, so that they also don't go bad, or maybe they're not in excess, they're not in shortage. So those are things that you need to look into, and also maybe related to manage the distribution network. Also the retail, who are these key actors. and before it also gets to the consumer. So you need to get to know who are those key actors along the chain, so that once you have a mastery of that, you're able to know how your product really moves from the seed all the way to the table of the consumer. So, and those are things that you need to look into and put into perspective. So, as I said, I know this I've been able to mention a bit. So one key thing that we need to see how we can really adopt is to make sure that, as you can see, there's that demand signal at the top, showing that on this side there's a customer, on the other side there's a raw material and component suppliers. So what this is showing, we need to see how can we really be able to do our production based on the customer needs. So that's why we're saying, as you see, there's a sales and marketing and the customer service. So that's why you get the signal, how much, what is the demand for my product. And now based on that, we go to the sourcing. So we're able to then know this is the kind of materials that I need, from either my farmers or from my, agents or distributors, or, others maybe have traders, local traders who supplies you. So you're able to know how much do I need from the respective, supplier. Then from there is now the transportation, we are doing manufacturing, and then the distribution. So it affects all of us in various ways. Maybe the channel could be a bit shorter, depending on what you are working on, but that gives you an overview. Yeah, so I think the key thing here is you need to really know what does the customer need, what is the need, what is the demand for my product, because then now that affects the entire supply chain. Yeah, so this too is part of the supply chain. So we've seen this on one side, there's a supplier, on the other side is a customer, but also now internally now as a business, as we are, we also do some activities. So on one side, once you get to know the list of your suppliers who supplies you with good, the important information about them. Then on their side, the target group, the customer segment, looking at the customer satisfaction. Once you get to know those, now internally in your business, you have to do the procurement. It doesn't matter whether it's very elaborate or it's not. Whether you are buying small equipment or rather even small input, that is still procurement. You are buying from the suppliers. And of course, as you do this, you need to ask yourself, is this product, what you call the 6 R's in procurement, is it the right quality? Am I buying the right quality? And I know we'll be able to see that once you do some calculations later. Is it the right quantity? And I am sure you've seen it. Maybe you can overbuy, or maybe also procure. So you need to look into that. Is it, am I buying at the right time? So that again, you don't end up having stock that is not moving. So you end up having dead stock. So you need to look into that. Is it the right source? Are you getting it from the right source? Is it at the right price? Is it at the right place? And I'm sure as you continue, we also see as you make decisions in terms of your supply chain, how you need to look into it. So those are critical questions that you need to ask yourself as you now decide on who to buy from. And of course, the accounting, you need to account for that because remember, as you're doing this, you're trying to also become investor ready. So you need to make sure that you have proper accounting for all your expenses. Because those are things that are required. Then as you continue with this, it's also now the production level. So understanding this product that I've bought from supplier A or supplier B, what is the contribution to my production, the processing, the outcome, what benefits am I getting? Because if you get the right quality, maybe you also get up what you call like a pack house or a pack out yield. And I will show that as we proceed. And that means if I buy 1 ton of produce, I'm sure maybe I'll not process 100%, but am I able to get 90%, 95%, 70%? Those are questions that you need to ask yourself. Those are things that you have to do. Those are statistics that you must undertake to make sure that you get the best. If, for example, even if it's the seedlings, that you're buying from a tree nursery, maybe for further planting, let's say for avocado and all that, what is the germination rate? What is the germination rate out of maybe about 100 trees? Maybe I say 98 of them germinated, two didn't. So what are those percentages? So those are things that you need to look into, and that falls under production. And also maybe the sales now, the final destination with the product. Sometimes you deliver the product, maybe it doesn't meet the quality of the customer. They then return to you. Again, those are statistics that you have to also undertake and study to get to know the impact and how you can improve on your supply chain. Because remember, what you're trying to look into is to see that you're able to become cost effective and supplying high quality products to your customers. So yeah, so those are things that you have to really think about as a business person. Yeah, so that still shows you just to get to have a clear picture of the suppliers. Again, it is just an elaborate a little bit. But now on the product side, on the customer, it could be like a wholesaler, and then a retailer, then the end customer. So those are things that I think after this, it's important to really think through your business and get to know on the demand side, on the supply side, who are these key actors? How does my product move along the chain? And, how can I make it even better for the actors along the chain? So those are things that you can think about, yeah, and through maybe that channel. So now, as we said, again, looking into this, the material flow, from the customer, from the supplier of your products all the way to the customer. So, the material flow that is showing how the material is flowing from the raw material, from your supplier, the farmer, all the way to the customer. There's the transport, and I'll be able to do again statistics on that, and rather we do an activity on that and get to see how that is done. Then, of course, again, the information flow, how the information again flows from the consumer. Maybe some of them place with you a purchase order. Others gives you, monthly schedules. Others give you like an annual plan. As I said, in our case, we would have like an annual program. They tell us this is what we need for the whole year. So go and plant. So we then work with the weekly orders. So it depends with how they do that. If they have the complaints, how do they do it? After how long? Sometimes, and this is an issue that you also need to look into, the lead time. If, for example, the customers see the product is not good, after how long should they inform you? They don't have to, again, keep it in the store for long. They have to inform you, maybe at the point of receiving. That's the time that you tell them, anything maybe after 2 or 3 days, you may not be able to honor that as, So those are things that you need to discuss with your customers, because I've seen that they're becoming a big issue in terms of those complaints from the customer. Yeah, so, and also even from the suppliers, again, you need to agree on the lead time. How much time do they need before they supply you with a product? Then on the other side, now as you can see, there's now another thing that has been added in terms of the money flow. So we are in business, we are in this business to also capture value. Capturing value is of course by generating income. So again, how the money flows from the consumer all the way again to the supplier of your product, who could be like a farmer. Maybe how you raise the invoices and all that. So those are things that you also need to be on top of. See how the money flows. So as you can see, there's the material, the information, and also the money flow, how it flows along the chain. And those are things that you have to be on top of for your supply chain to be effective. So now some of the objectives, because that was just like the initial introduction for us to get to know, the supply chain and what it means. So, maybe why are we talking about the supply chain? What could be like some of the key objectives? So as you can see here, we are working to ensure efficiency, because you have to manage inventory so that you don't end up having dead stock. You have to manage the transportation so that the product gets on time to the customer. Because all those things, they are very, very complex, and I'm sure you've seen they could also be very expensive for your business. So if you don't have that effective, plan, that supply chain management plan, you end up having a lot of issues. So you need to see how can you better understand who are these actors along the chain, these key actors that are along the chain, and how do I, need to collaborate with them? Because through that, you can be able to enhance efficiency. And that's why you've seen sometimes maybe even companies deciding, instead of owning our trucks or rather buying trucks, let us lease from somebody who is able, that is their core business. I'm sure maybe for like those in Kenya, you have seen like Kenya breweries, for them, just an example, they just outsource logistics, because that is really better. They know that if they outsource, there's somebody really taking care of that. They don't have to incur a lot of challenges in terms of truck management and all that. So with that, you're able to see what is your core business and how do we improve the efficiency. Then, of course, the issue of optimized transportation and logistics. So as you continue with this, you're able to make sure that you supply the product right on time for the customers. And I'm sure maybe you have seen even for global logistics companies, including Amazon, saying that they're able to deliver it on time. So, once you get to know how the supply chain moves, you're able to make sure that you optimize, first of all, what you're able to get from the farms, because you're able to know on farm A, B, 3, I'm collecting this kind of volume. And so you're able to optimize the transport that you have. So those are some of the, again, the objectives for doing this. The other one is, of course, working on improving the quality of the product. So, for example, if you better work with your customers, they are giving you feedback on your product, maybe on the germination rate, for example, if you're dealing with seedlings, avocado, if you're dealing with the avocados, how the product is and all that, that feedback enables you to like also improve, improve overall quality. And you see, if you have improved quality, you end up then having, better cost per unit of production. Then, of course, as you do this, you also maintain long-term stability of the business. So you're able then to also become, make sure that your business is sustainable, because now you've been able to have better relationship, either with your suppliers, be it farmers, with your customers, with also your employees. If you have a factory where you process, because you're able to make sure that they have products to process at any given time. So that's how you're able to maintain some good long-term stability of your business. Yeah, so as I said, I know I have mentioned this. So the goal is to make sure that you get the product at the right place, right time, right quality, right quantity, and the right price. And I know I have been able to highlight that. But those are things that you need to make sure that you get them right. So these are now like the additional, rather the benefits of supply chain management. So inventory reduction. So you make sure that you only procure the inventory that you need. You don't end up having excess products that also hold cash. So the productivity improvement. For example, if you are dealing, let's say, with avocados, you already know the volume that you expect in your pack house, where you're processing it. So you get to improve productivity in terms of like the employees. So you just get the right team for the job. If you are expecting 1 ton, you have a team that will process that 1 ton and finish, for example. So that's how you're able to improve productivity. That is just an example, and I'm sure there's still some other ways you can do that. The personnel reduction, just related to what I've just mentioned, you're also able to do the same, because then you have a better plan and you already know the team that you need. So sometimes instead of laying off people, at least you have numbers that you can be able to sustain throughout. The procurement cost reduction is actually also, if you manage properly, you are actually able to even save a lot of money. And I'm saying this because I have seen us save a lot of money through, for example, understanding this raw material that I've bought, how much am I getting per kg when I put it into the factory for processing. So with that, if you're able to be on top of that, you don't end up, losing products, in the processing unit. So that's how you're able to really manage the cost. The issue of, customer satisfaction it will be good, because first of all, you're even collecting feedback from them to improve, or rather to decide on how much to produce. and also along the way in terms of how they need the product and all that. You also end up having increased profit because of really managing your cost properly. And I'm sure once you go to that simple case study, you'll be able to see how you can increase profit by just becoming more efficient in terms of supply chain management. On-time delivery of your orders, you do that. The revenue profit increase, again, it increases. I know it's almost the same. There's also the better cash management. You're able to manage your cash flows better. You don't have to go to the bank asking for overdraft, either to pay your farmers if you had bought a lot of products before you supply and sell to your customers. So you're able to manage your cost. Also there is also better order management, because you are looking at getting to hear from the customers what they need. So you're able to look into that. It's also the cost reduction in terms of logistics, because now you already know in this area, this is the volume that you expect. So you're able to set the trucks that are sufficient for that volume. Yeah, so those are some of the benefits, and I'm sure as you continue, you'll be able to see how, maybe just through an example, what it means. Then, of course, the implementation steps, because of course, this also calls for, us looking into rather organizing ourselves very well. So first of all, there's like 3 phases. There's one for the conceptual phase. Most of us maybe have heard about developing a concept note or such a thing. This is where you assess the supply chain opportunities. Looking at who are these actors you can work with. Sometimes if you don't have to lease, a product, or rather you can lease a truck instead of buying. You look at all those options. Then after that, you now develop your vision. So that's why you did come up with the initial phase. Then after that is now the conversion phase. So you come up with developing a strategy for your supply chain. And then after that, you create that effective organizational structure for now deliver that supply chain, the strategy. Because of course you need, depending on what now you want to achieve, you have to also then have the resources to do that. And the resources includes now having an able team, a competent team to support you on that. So, you're able to look into that. Then, of course, the issue of information and communication and also networking to make sure that everybody is in sync, from your team to the customers to the suppliers. You need to make sure that, you have a very good communication strategy. Then the execution phase is where now you really now put strategy into action, making sure that now you're able to implement your supply chain strategy. Yeah, so that's how we look at it, and I do believe we are able to making it better. So in terms of now the supply chain management activities, so they are like again 3 stages. One is that strategic level. This is the high level. Looking at the supply chain design, which you've just seen on the other slide. Looking at the resources that are required, from the organizational structure and all that. And of course, as you look at this, it's long term. It's over 1 year, and I'm sure you'll be able to see in another slide, maybe on why. Because maybe sometimes we need to determine maybe the location of your factory, all those things. So that's why you call it strategic. Then of course there's now the tactical. There's now like a production plan, the distribution planning, the resource allocation now to achieve that. This usually is like a medium-term plan. It could be quarterly, it could be monthly. Then the other one is operational. This could be like on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. Like for example, to know this day is how much I'm going to process. This is what the customer needs for that particular day. So and I'm sure most of us are able to do that level of operational management in terms of our supply chain. So, but again, you need to make sure that all these stages, as you think about now your supply chain management, you have at least probably 1 or 2 areas really have to be, make sure that you really look into. It may not be a very long term, probably, depending on the level of your business, but at least for these others, you need to make sure that at least you have a very, very good plan to make it work for your business. Yeah, so this is just still the same. That's from the strategic planning, the overall planning that you have to do. demand planning. You have to think about demand, of your customers and all that. Make sure that you have business probably, if possible, during throughout the year or during the season, the seasons. Then of course after that is a supply chain planning. Looking at the procurement, how you get now the raw materials before you manufacture, before you warehouse, and of course before you fulfill your orders and then do the transportation. Yeah, and I'm sure you'll be able to get these slides, so you'll be able to see some of the key things that you may need to consider. So now when you look at now the plan, this is what I was saying, maybe this could also be sort of long term. Maybe you need to look at the plant location. For example, maybe you may decide for you to better organize your supply chain. Maybe you need to have a collection point. It could be a collection point. It could be a processing unit. It could also be a distribution unit for those maybe who are also supplying seedlings. You may decide to have a location for where you put some of the nurseries and all that. So look at that. How big will it be? The plant size. Looking at the design for that. Thinking about the delivery models. Also looking at the IT solutions that you're going to integrate, which are also very, very key. And of course, the transportation cost modeling. So, those are things that you have to really think through as you come up with your plan. And so this is what it is just a sample of what maybe you can be able to put in your plan. You put the supplier name. You put for example, raw material to be procured with the annual amount, the key benefits derived. So for the respective suppliers, be able to put that and really have a good register as part of an annex to your plan, because it's also really quite important. Because as you see, for you to deliver even your business model, you require those key partners. So this is how you put that plan into perspective. If it's then for the execution, because we've seen also maybe on a day-to-day basis, on a weekly basis, you need to put who is in charge of that, the manager, for example, or the supervisor in charge of that, the area of responsibility, what they are working on. Maybe they are testing the product, they are either packaging, they're involved in procurement, they're involved in logistics, in marketing. So then you put that and then put the key strategies under each supervisor. The strategies that you have, which supervisor is really going to look into that. Yeah, so that's how then you also make sure that your plan is not just in paper, but of course you have a way of implementing it, of executing it. So it's important to look into that. Then the other one is, of course, is the delivery. So again, still the same, delivery to your customers, getting to know who is in charge of the respective areas. And again, the strategies for what strategy is supervisor is driving towards achieving. So those are things that, again, you can also put that into perspective, in a simplified register online, whichever form that would work for your level of enterprise at the moment. But it's really good to adopt technology. Yeah, so this is just now like a summary. I think we'll see it in terms of the supply chain, the strategy. This is a long-term one, and some of this product could also be a bit expensive, even in setting up a simple collection point for raw materials or a distribution center, it could also be a bit expensive, so that's why it's a bit, it's a bit long-term. So I think we've looked into that, the planning. So this, again, planning, you need to look at what do the customers need, which you have to keep on, researching, surveying your customers, both the present and of course the potential customers that you aim to serve. So you need to make sure that you keep on, looking at that so that you can be able to get to see how can you improve based on your competitors, which strategies can you come up with to be able to better meet the customer needs and requirements. So then the other one is, of course, is the issue of organizational strength, making sure that you minimize uncertainty and performance, optimize the performance of your business to make sure that the way you are handling your customer orders, that you are supplying to your customers, it's something that is really quite well organized. And that's what you're saying, like an organizational strength is just what you've gone through in terms of really even planning to get to know who is doing what within your business. Now, so from that, we then move on to what we call the sourcing process. So the sourcing process is now where you ask yourself, now how do I get to engage, suppliers? And I'm sure even when we got into this cohort, there's a way we had to apply, for example. So this is now the process of you onboarding suppliers to supply you. So it's really important to get to know, what, first of all, is to get to know for which customer segment am I going to, do I want to buy the product for? Is it, if you're dealing with different segments, is it for avocados? Is it for, whichever product we're dealing with? And then from there, the next thing is to do like a market assessment, get to know that, understanding a little bit about the market. And then after that, you do the supplier survey to get to know who are these key suppliers within the respective value chain. And then after that, you come up with the strategy on how best you can now engage with those various suppliers. And then after that is the request. It could be a request, like now in this case, I know most of us send a request for application, we filled in, but now maybe it could also be an issue of you sending a request for through an LPO, local purchase order, or PO purchase order. It depends with how you engage and for how long, based on the terms that you have as a business. And then of course is the issue of communication with your new suppliers. Yeah, so those are some of the steps that I think is really good, and I've even given an example of how we got into this cohort that we had to actually apply. So, it shows that it's really important to see how best to onboard the suppliers the right way into your business. Yeah. So when you look at now understanding like now the spend category, it just means what are these products that are required. The future demand projections or the budget for that particular product that you're looking at, the expenditures by the suppliers, so there are different things that you need to look into. Of course, as you understand, before you get to go out there and now source the suppliers, it's really important to get to have a bit of information about the products that you intend to procure. Yeah, so you need to have that into perspective. Then, of course, the other one is on the market assessment. So you need to look at, looking at the market. Are there substitute suppliers to the current people that supplies you? So what are the dynamics in the marketplace? Sometimes you get one supplier, then you just want to used to that. And I'm sure that you see some companies, floating tenders on an annual basis to get to know what are the new things out there. So that's still part of like a market assessment that they do to get to know there are new trends in the market. So you have to keep on doing that so that you get a bit of additional insight on how best you can, get value for your money, because of course, as you're doing this, you're buying product. Yeah, so you look at the cost, the analysis of the suppliers, and any risks, and also the opportunities that are there, the cost analysis. So, so when you look at this, it doesn't matter whether you are a very big enterprise or even a small enterprise. So, it's really, really important to keep checking out there, to keep your eyes open to get to know the dynamics that are out there for the suppliers. So then the supplier survey is where now you also look at, and I'm sure this is where we get, for example, tell them to send a request, send you the information. So you get a bit of information to get to know, are they visible? Can they be able to supply you? What is their capability? How much in terms of maturity, of course. For example, if you're looking for high value products that need to make sure that they are consistent supply. Those things are important to look into. The capacity that they have, including, for example, if you need, let's say, 10 tons of particular product, are they able to supply that, at a given time? So those are things that, they look into, and including now yourselves. Maybe, for example, you are an exporter, those are things that I'm sure even our agents on the other side who buys maybe on behalf of supermarkets or even the supermarkets, actually they look into this. They look at how capable you are, the capacity that you have. If you have a processing unit, what is your capability? How much volume can you process per week, per month? So those are things that you also yourself need to look into before you maybe decide to work on a particular, supplier. That's just an example. Yeah. So then from there is now the sourcing. This is why you maybe can have a request. Maybe some people said, request for proposals. Others, even if it's just at local level, maybe you can request them to send a request. Where I'm sure you have seen even people write some, simple letters of expressing interest. So this is actually, it doesn't matter the level of your business, but you still can be able to at least make it a little bit formalized to make sure that you're engaging the supplier that is also committed to doing the business. Then of course you select the most competitive, and I'm sure you are looking at the pricing, the quality and all that. And then after that is the issue of the communication. It's also important to communicate, and I'm sure maybe for those of us who are in large businesses, maybe exporters and all that, you see, if you have opened a bid, you also maybe have to communicate for those who won and also those who didn't win. I think it's always important. So you need to make sure that you have those kind of communication in place. Yeah. Then of course the other one is now fulfilling the orders. So maybe you have your customers, you have your suppliers. So this is just the normal process. I'm sure this is what we do of us in our businesses. So you have your customers, they place their orders, then you have a sales department, they submit the order. Then from there, there's of course what you call the credit and bidding. Like now in this case, this is quite important, especially if you are supplying to a new customer. It's really important to look into that, get to know their credit history. Are they credit worthy? Would they be able to pay? I've seen people maybe even export and those products, in a big way, just because of assuming the issue of credit check. So it's really important to do that. Then the shipping, you check the inventory, you have it on hand, and then from there, it's now supplying and sending the invoice, and then maybe preparing the payment even to your suppliers. So I'm sure probably this is how we usually do it to your customers. And of course, I think the key takeaway here is to make sure that if you have a new customer, at least make sure that you check their credit worthiness. And of course, then from there, make sure that you manage the inventory very well so that you don't end up having a lot of excess of raw materials or finished product and less of what the customer needs. Yeah, so those are things that we have to keep on checking. Now, moving on, the issue of logistics and IT. So you need to look at the transportation medium. How do I get my product from the farm? If you're getting it from a farm, or rather different farmers or farms, to your warehouse or where you process. How do you get the product in from there to your customers? Are you going to use the same vehicles? If not, what do you do? What is the best medium? Is it, of course, the trucks? Is it pickups? Is it motorbikes? So you have to look at that and see which one is the most effective for your customers. So I know there we have various options that we could look into. Then, of course, look at the various challenges in terms of transportation. and now you need to put mitigation measures in place. Sometimes your trucks could, if you have trucks, they could break down, and you have to supply to your product to your customers. So what do? Maybe you need to have on standby somebody who can at least option, to be on standby. So those are things that you can look into. Then, of course, the other one is, of course, IT and supply chain management. I think this we can't do away with. It's really important to see how in our businesses we can leverage technology to make sure that we improve our supply chain. So those are things that we can be able to see how best to have that. And I've seen people even tracking their previous trucks, getting to know where the truck is, all that, so that we become more efficient. And I'm sure, depending on the level of our businesses, we still can be able to see how best to integrate technology in the supply chain. Yeah, so these are some of the transportation medium. It could be through the plane. I know we use this in a big way. It could be through the trucks. Maybe some of us in Kenya, we have the rail transporting some of the products. We also have now the ship, maybe exporting avocados or such a thing, and also maybe the electronic way. So depending on how we looking at making the transportation. So we need to look at the pros and cons based on what the customers need, and also what is cost effective for our businesses. So the challenges in terms of the transportation, I know there's the issue of economic uncertainty sometimes. So maybe we're not sure how the economy is moving. So sometimes customers don't buy as per the plan. Those keep on maybe affecting our plans. But of course, I know in planning, there has to be that plus or minus 20, plus minus 10, 20%. So those are things that we need to look into. There's also the treaties and laws. Sometimes the laws do affect us in a big way when you look at the transportation. Sometimes I've seen, maybe just to give an example of us here, sometimes there is a cess that you have to pay if you're moving from one country to the next. Sometimes that also increases the transportation cost, and those are things that we still have to comply with. So we need to also factor in those things. The changing transport industry, I'm sure a lot is happening within our logistics. We have seen people like Uber coming in. We have maybe also probably transportation of trucks through the digital platforms. Those are things that we still could also be able to see how we can leverage, where possible, if possible, we could be able to leverage. The issue of technology, we have to see how best to probably, adopt it so that we can be able to improve our activities. Otherwise, we end up being old-fashioned in our business. The issue of globalization, the issue of labor laws, all those are things that continue affecting, affecting our supply chain. Also, the varying prices. Sometimes they go up and down. So depending maybe on the exchange rates and all that. So those are things that really impact directly on our supply chain, which I think we have to be very cautious on maybe how we then do we pass on some of those costs. For example, they say the fuel costs to our customers, to our consumers. So those are things that we have to be very keen on and see how can we improve efficiency to not, first of all, maybe go increasing the cost to our customers. I'm sure it is not easy, but maybe you could still look into that. Yeah, so the other one is, of course, the issue of information technology in supply chain management. And I'm sure, as you can see here, there's a strategic level, the whole supply chain management is, of course, the planning level, there is the operational level. So it could, as you can see on the planning, we have like a transport and inventory planning, which you could use. The operational, we have a transport execution and hardware management system, how we manage the inventory. Like now in our case, we used to have a very robust platform, that is IT platform, right from stocks, its weight through a digital scale. The whole system is fully automated, so you're able to get to know how the products are moving. Also, maybe a customer relationship management on the CRM, how you relate with your customers. So those are some of the technologies that maybe you could consider now, depending on the level that you're at. That on the suppliers, what you could use for the suppliers, for the manufacturers, for the distributors, for the retailers, for the customers. So I know maybe we don't have to adopt most of this. It is best now with what would work best for your case to improve your supply chain. So you could consider part of those. Yeah, so the other one, of course, is the issue of planning and forecasting. From the budgeting, you need to have a proper budget. Of course, budgeting for the operational cost, because all those important number of costs that you have to incur from the logistics, transport, and all that, fuel, in managing the people that goes to the field, if you have, all those things. So you need to make sure that you get to know the demand forecasting, or how much does the customer need. Then you estimate the revenue, the sales forecasting, the production planning. So those are things that you need to really be on top of, so that you don't disappoint your customers. So, and I'm sure most of us are able to do this, but we've been providing this just to give you an example. With budgeting, forecasting, the sales, what you expect to sell in the first quarter, the second, the third, fourth quarter, so you can be able to estimate it. I'm sure maybe some of us already being able to do this. Then, of course, demand forecasting, you look at the year, look at maybe the quantities that customers need. So again, you could be able to do that. So this is just another example of how you can do the projections. And I'm sure we do this in our businesses, so we still need to keep on improving. Also, the sales forecasting, maybe also you could look into that, and you can compare even from the previous year to the next year, so that you can be able to forecast it the right way. Yeah, then of course the master production planning. Probably you can also have a plan based on the whole year, 2 weeks. You get to know what are the units that the customers need. So you have that. What the customers have committed to, the stocks that you have. Yeah. So it's really important to do this. As you can see, there can even be a simple Excel sheet if you are a small enterprise, but it can also be a complex ERP system that you use for planning. So it depends with how your capabilities as a business and where you are at. But it's really important to do that. So again, this is an example of how it can be done, but of course, you can do it in whichever way works for your enterprise. So, so the inventory management again. So I know we have these are the key people. We have seen the customers. We have seen the wholesalers, the manufacturers, the warehouse, the distributors. So we need to look at the inventory, whether what we are keeping into our warehouse, whether we are at the manufacturing level, even at the customer level. I'm sure they also have to look into that, what they need. If we are supplying, let's say, to a supermarket, there are various ways they look into to make sure that they manage the inventory better, so that they don't also end up having a lot of products in the stores. So for us to do that, there's what we call the economic order quantity. So and this means that you have to look at what is this order that or rather quantity should I have at any given time, so that I don't end up having a lot of either excesses or shortages. And as you can see, I know maybe you may not go through all this, but you can. What some of the key things that you have to consider is like the lead time that takes before you order from the supplier, and the time that they supply. Also, the time that you also get to the customer orders, and the time they expect you to supply. So those are some of the things that we call the lead time. And of course, as you can see here, there's an inventory level on this side. As you can see on the x-axis, is the order quantity and the reorder level quantity. So if it goes below that point, the reorder level, you have to order, so that you don't make sure that it doesn't go a little below. So I'm sure here there's a bit of calculations that have to be done. But of course, this is based on looking at how much, what is the order that the customers need, how does it take me to get this product, whether from a supplier and all that. It could even be just be a simple packaging bag that you're using, either or the cartons that you use to package your avocados or such a thing. So you need to really factor in that, but you have to make sure that you have that minimum order quantity so that you have that reorder point to make sure that you don't end up having some shortages. Yeah. Now moving on, I know this where we started with the performance measures, and of course we looked at the financial. So we are going to also look into some of the non-financial measures of the supply chain management. So some of them non-financial is like now the cycle it takes, the supply chain, the lead time. I know I've just mentioned this. So this is what it means, the time that it takes for your supplier to get a product to you. Whatever you buy from them, it could be 1 day, it could be 2 days. So it's good to get that. Then the other one is also the issue of the other one is for the customers. Maybe how much time do they take, before, how much does the customer give you by the time they place order and then by the time they expect you to deliver. So you need to look at that because that then really supports you with the supply chain. And I'm sure I've just mentioned that in the previous slide, talking about the order levels. So those are things that you have to make sure that you measure in your business. Then the other one is, of course, the customer service levels. So, you look at, customer levels is, how satisfied, of course, are your customers based on, maybe they have ordered a product. Have you been able to supply 100% at all the times? So you need to look at the stock out rate, the back order levels, probability of on-time delivery. So, and here what I've seen, and most of our customers, when they used to evaluate us, they could actually tell us the service levels was this much, was this percentage, 98%. On this product, you scored 98%. On this product, you scored 40%. So when you're discussing the next supply cycle, the next year, they say, no, this product, we're not going to give you this volume because you only supplied 40% of what we requested. So that's why it's really important to keep checking that, what as a supplier customer requested, what have I been able to supply. So that's why it's important to, it's an financial measure, but it's really, really important because it helps you to improve your supply chain management. The other one, of course, is the inventory level. So looking at, as I said, you don't have a lot of, stocks. Maybe if it's the raw materials, the amount of raw materials consumed and left out. So, really managing that raw materials so that you don't end up having a dead stock because maybe, you procured more. Also the work in progress, sometimes maybe you have, prepared some products ahead of time. Or maybe they ahead of time, so you store them, then you come to finish later. Sometimes it might get bad, So those are things that you need to also look into in terms of the inventory level that you have. The finished product as well. Maybe sometimes the volume keeps on going down. Maybe especially if you're dealing with some perishable goods. So sometimes if you store it for long, there has to be a weight loss. So that loss comes back to really affecting your profitability. So it's good to look into that. Yeah, so the other one is, of course, on the resource utilization, how effective you're using your manufacturing resources, the machines, are they fully optimized at all the times? Are you operating at 50% capacity, 60%, 70% of your potential for processing? So those are things that you look at. The storage resources that you have, the stores, are they used effectively? The trucks, logistics, if you have trucks, are they fully utilized? Maybe when you send a truck to the farms, does it come half empty or quarter empty, or does it come full? Those are things that you have to look into. The human resources, I think I mentioned this, if you have good quality products, maybe you have people also processing very fast, so they also end up earning more. You pay them, especially on a piece rate. so that also you could look into that. And those are measures that you need to keep on looking. The financial resources as well, the working capital, the stocks. So you look at how effectively you're using your various resources. I know the financial measures, this is what we started with, looking at things like raw material costs, transportation cost per kg or per unit, the cost of good returns, returned by the customer. Those are some of the financial measures which are also really critical, and I'm sure we do that on a regular basis. Then some of the common problems, this ones, I know we are going to do a small exercise on that, and we'll see how this affects. Then, of course, some of the common problems that we have, I think one of it is theft. Like the major problem is theft of raw materials. It could be at the farm, it could be in transit, it could be in pack houses. And that, especially if you are dealing with a product like, it's not like cement. Cement, you can say, yeah, input A and input B gives you this number of bags. Maybe you are dealing with a product that you can't give an accurate 100%. Maybe you still have some losses. So sometimes you manipulate that. Also, the issue of transaction errors. If you don't have proper records, so you also end up having some issues. I remember during we, despite having like digital platforms, digital skill, people could still try to manipulate it, and maybe they do like the 2 entries, which was still a big issue. So those are some of the issues that you may have as you do the inventory management, information delays, misplaced inventory sometimes may lead to issues. The issue of spoilage, along the way, or even within the pack house, things losing some of their aesthetic value that they're supposed to have. So that decline in quality also affects your end product that's supplied to your customer. So the product yields either from the farms or even at the pack house, and there's something that you'll be able to look into as you do a simple exercise. So those are some of the issues, and I'm sure there could still be many, depending now with the businesses that that we do. So I know I've been able to mention this a little bit. Of course, the issue of delivery, the issue of poor design of the IT system. So I mentioned some of those things. So, and that comes to the end of my presentation. I know I've taken a lot of time, and now before we go to the breakout rooms, I just wanted to show a simple exercise. All right, so I hope you can still hear me. All right, so this is based on an actual product costing for an export product, and I just want to show maybe 1 or 2 things. So we've spoken about raw materials. So as you do the supply chain, you have to engage farmers to like supply you with the raw materials. So what you're looking at is, we need to make sure that we take care of the planet, becoming more sustainable production, per acre. So we don't have to waste products, so we need to see how best can we be able to look into that. So when you look at the value chain node, that is the value chain actors and the node. So maybe it could be the production level. So depending on how you look at your value chain. Then of course the value chain actors, you could be getting it either from your own farms, but it could be from outgrowers. These are the farmers, the smallholder farmers that you engage. They could also be input suppliers. You also may need to have field staff and all that. Then this on the raw material. When you look at maybe the labor cost, These are the costs that you incur at the processing stage. And of course, you'll be able to see how sometimes it's affected by how we go about like sourcing the raw materials and all that. Then, of course, there's the issue of the logistics. And sorry, I forgot to mention about the packaging. The packaging could be whether you're packaging like seedlings, you have like those polythene that you put at the bottom, whether you're packaging cartons or rather avocados, you have the cartons. So those are some of the costs that you incur as part of the supply chain that you have to be very effective on. So the issue of the transportation, it could be like the internal cost that you get product from the farmers to your pack house or to where you process it. And then from the other one, it's maybe now for the export, if you're exporting or maybe taking it to the customers. So you get to, from there, you're able to get some of the direct costs. Sometimes you still have to put some rejects. Sometimes you get some rejections. So it's good to always, factor them as you do the costing. Then maybe you have some indirect costs and also the overhead costs. So, as you do some of your costing, I just want to show us a simple example of how supply chain management affects some of our product costing and all that. So in this case, as you can see here, this 70%, as I said, some of these products, as you buy them, you don't expect to package 100%. But there's a way you can do as you get them from the farms, you're able to improve what you call the packability, how much you're able to get per kg that is put into the factory that you're using for processing. So, for example, in this case, we could get up to 70%, but you can actually get some farmers supplying you very high quality products that you can get 90%. Whatever you get 100 kgs into the pack house, you get 90% of packed product, good quality product. But in our case scenario, you put 100 kgs, you get 70%. That is what it means. So here, I wanted just to put another column here. I copy this. All right. So as you can see, I've just copied this. So then from there, that one there. So as part of my costing, then if I've explained about this 70%. So what if we get now a good farmer supplying us with, and we get 85% of the packaging? So it means then here I can just work, let's say, remove that. All right, let's even get it just with 8%. So getting it just with 8%. So it means I work with this farmer, and this farmer has been able to supply me good quality product, as part of what we can do to supply the product. I've been able to also get it on time from the farm. I've not spent a lot of time along the road, so it's also still of high quality, and I've been able to get, as opposed to 70% yield, packability, or rather what I get from my 100 kgs, I've been able to get, let's say, 88%. And this is actually real. It's used to happen, and I know it still happens. So what it means for that, just this one product, which is 200 grams, just 200 grams. So you can see you're able to, instead of spending 18 shillings, you spend 14 shillings in terms of the raw material cost. Okay, so that is what it means in terms of like raw material cost, what you're able to save. Then you also save on the transport a bit, because now you're not transporting a lot of wastes from the farms to your pack house. So you also end up saving some transport costs. Okay. Then you also save on the logistics, the rejects, because now this product is high quality. So instead of maybe spending 1.9 shillings, you spend 1.88. Yeah, so that's how if you can do our supply chain management effectively, which is very, very doable, we are able to save costs and at the same time make our customers happy. So we minimize our production cost and also make our customers happy, offering them high quality products at the right time, at the right place, and the right price. So that's what we need to look into. And that's why now I wanted to go to the breakout rooms. We discuss about when you look at your businesses, who are these key actors that you work with? So in this case, for example, I've been able to say, like now, it's called Fine Beans. Maybe some of our actors are maybe the farms, own farms, the growers, smallholder farmers. For the packaging, you get the packaging companies. You need to look at what are these key actors and how can I relate with them. Maybe there still could be some factors that are beyond our control, maybe like the exchange rates for the inputs and all that. But maybe there's something that we can do. Maybe we can do better production planning. We can see how to improve yield per acre, so that we get better production and high quality products. Then, of course, there still could be some conflicts that we may also face with some of our value chain actors. Maybe with the poor inputs, and I explained, maybe you get some not high quality seeds, not high quality seedlings, you end up having issues. Then also side setting of input. Maybe you have outgrowers, you have given them seeds, then they, instead of doing it for you, they sell those seeds. That becomes a big issue. Then of course the issue of crop management, maybe spraying and approved products. So those are some of the things that you need to look into as you think about your supply chain, so that how do I relate better with all these actors, because you've seen there's so many actors that you have to work with. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to show, an example that is actually doable to get better quality products and all that, and still have an impact on our business in terms of better profit, and also at the same time making our customers happy. And with that, now we head on to our breakout rooms and our project, what we are supposed to work on. This is the activity here. So we have, we are going to be in various groups. So I know Samuel is supporting me on this, and the WRA team. So we can depend now on the groups that we have, but I would want to see from the groups, the key resources maybe could be raw materials. We ask ourselves at the production level, who are these key value chain actors, that we need, for us to source the raw materials. What can we do to improve our supply chain? Now, based on the raw materials, we have known the actors. So what do you think we can do, to improve our supply chain? As we think about those actors, what can we do? Is it supporting them to be able to produce better quality products? Because that is then how we can be able to improve our supply chain and supply our customers better quality product. Then if there's the issue of processing of raw materials, the processing level, maybe who are some of these key actors that we need to work with. Then also ask ourselves, what can we do to improve that node, that processing? If we are doing involved in processing or any sort of value addition, what can we do? Including now the proper planning of our production, getting the raw materials on time so that our staff have the things to work on. Again, let's look into that. Then also look at the logistics, from the farms to the customers, from the farms to the pack house if you have, and also from the pack houses to the customers. Who are these key actors? What can we do to improve that chain and all that? Then the customer relationship. If, for example, if they have rejected a product, what can we do? And to improve that, to minimize the rejections from our customers. If, for example, is a seedling that is not meeting the germination rate is bad, what can we do to mitigate against that? Yeah, then of course the other groups, you can also look at the source of conflict with the value chain actors. If there's raw materials, just like we have been able to share on the other side, what conflicts could we end up having with some of our suppliers, and how can we improve on it? And group 6, do the same on the processing of raw materials. The other one look at logistics, those kind of conflicts. And then the other one, look at the customer relationship as some of those conflicts we could have with our customers. And maybe the other one, this group, I'm sure maybe you may not have a lot. You could also look at this, the factors beyond our control, maybe the raw materials, the processing, logistics, and the customer relationship. Yeah, so thank you. And now we can move on to the breakout rooms. Samuel, please assist on that.
Yeah, definitely. And thanks so much, Sami, for sharing this with us. Very comprehensive enough, and hopefully the team here has been able to pick one or two aspects that is useful for their business to help us be able to organize ourselves into breakout rooms and looking at different questions. We kindly request that you take the poll that is on your screen as you speak. Feel free to select one that resonates with you. Provide your answer right there. And I see 8 people have already done so. So let's take a few minutes to take the poll, even as we take a 3 minutes break to allow us to take the poll and maybe allow Sami to take a glass of water. And then we'll be able to get into the breakout rooms. Yeah, 3 minutes break. Take a poll, grab some water, and then once we are back, we'll be able to get into the breakout rooms for the next, say, 15 to 20 minutes. Just checking, Amanda, I don't know whether there are more instructions.
Too many things on my screen. So, I mean, I think the instructions are there. So everybody also will see in the meeting chat that you now have access to view that form that Sami was showing us. So basically, once we get back into breakout rooms, you'll select a discussion moderator. They'll take notes and make sure that the discussion is moving along, but you can then also access, this will follow you into the chat, into the breakout rooms. So just look at your chat box once you get into your breakout rooms. You can click on the link. You can click on the link now and kind of have this form up on your desktop before we even go to breakout rooms. So again, we've got about almost half of the people here have filled out the poll. The most important thing now is that you actually fill out the poll so that in about a minute or two, we will have you in a breakout room.
Good, thank you. Yeah, make sure before you take a break, make sure that you answer to the question on the poll. And in case you're not able to see it, I want to believe you can actually click the 3 dots. The poll should be the first thing you see. I stand corrected. But yeah, please just click on the 3 dots. That's in case you're not able to see it on your screen. At least for me, I can see it on my screen. So
Yeah,
92 people have already filled, 93. Remember, this poll will help us get you to the right group or breakout group. Yeah, 96 more people. We are 176 of us. So make sure you're in the right group, please.
I don't know. I feel like we should probably just split into breakout rooms because people who've been here have seen the poll and have been able to take it. We've got about 60% of the people who filled that out. So I think I will end the poll and let's do breakout rooms. So we can also see the results of the poll. So that's something else we can do. We can see that a lot of people wanted overall strategic support. And then, it kind of just basically fell in order, looking at supply, looking at processing, looking at logistics. And I think that we might need to make some breakout rooms now.
Okay.
Let's do it. So people should be able to join the breakout rooms now. You should be able to receive a box that says join and you can join. If you didn't fill out the poll, you didn't maybe receive an invitation, and we will get to you and we will guess our best. But for those of you who filled out the poll, you should be able to join your breakout rooms now. So everybody's heading to the breakout rooms now.
I see we're almost on top of the hour. Maybe I would give Sam an opportunity to be able to wrap up. In the meantime, remember to click the interpretation button so that you can be able to follow with the language that you're comfortable with. Yeah, so Sami, we do have less than 3 minutes. Maybe you may want to summarize the session and then maybe have a few announcements and then we can call it a day. Sami?
All right, yeah, so thank you so much, Samuel and the team. So I think I have seen a question on the chat. One is asking how would someone who is providing services like training services or consultancy apply supply chain management to his or her business? So I think the issue here, I think what we've been looking at is we've said that there's a demand side and also there's a supply side. So this happens even the consulting business. So when you look at now the consulting side, there's the demand, maybe your customers, how do you forecasting what they need and all that, which I think we also do even for the physical products. So it's good to look into that, looking at the credit client feedback, how they give you feedback, So those are things that we also do for even for the consulting and also a physical product. The supply chain management. So in this case, we are saying for the consulting, we're looking at maybe having some consultants to support you maybe either associate or something. So again, you need to really look into that. So that forms part of your supply supply side of the supply chain management tool. Process optimization, you need to become better, so you could have standard operating procedures. You may also need to integrate technology as you do your work. It could be the customer relationship management, all that. It could also the inventory management. Maybe you have some tools, like now in our case, you have to have the training materials and all that, including such a platform that we actually have where we put all this content together. That's still part of inventory management, because you're looking at how do I put my materials together in a more organized way. So all in all, whether you're in consulting or maybe the physical product business, I think supply chain management is critical, because it's what really brings together the supply side and the demand side to work effectively, and to make sure that you optimize the resources that you have to supply your customers the right product at the right time, at the right place, all those aspects. So I think with that, I think the time is up. But it really was a pleasure meeting all of you, and I wish you all the very best as you take your businesses to the next question, to the next level.
Thank you so much, Sami, also for creating time to prepare the training material, and also having a chance to come and share with us. Yeah, I did like the template where you're able to actually calculate the cost of good, even showing the two scenario where you actually have effective supply from the farmer, what that means in terms of reduction in the cost. Yeah, so if we could have that template, I think that would be a plus, and then maybe we could try to customize in our respective businesses and see how that unfolds on our end. Otherwise, thank you so much. We'll definitely share your contact with the team here, just in case somebody want to consult something with you, they can always reach out to you. Yeah, so that has been supply chain management. Indeed, a lot of technical aspect, a lot of practicability, a lot of templates from Sami, and I'm sure we'll be able to continue with this conversation even at a later stage. Thank you. Just checking with the rest of our team whether there are any announcement before we call it a day.
Well, I think we should just talk about Thursday. What is the session coming up?
Yeah, so this Thursday we'll be focusing on grassland restoration. So if you're here, join us to get to know how best you can be able to restore degraded grassland. Not only planting trees is a form of restoration, we have also seen grass being a very contributor to degradation, but also in the reverse, absorbing carbon. So we'll be having that discussion, and we're actually going to have a technical expert on that, even how do we get carbon from there, getting examples from different landscape. But also I'm trying to confirm a speaker who is actually working with the pastoralist to plant grass in order to control soil erosion, but also create livelihoods for the Maasai community in Kenya. Yeah, so looking forward to connecting with you on Thursday. Yeah, Victor?
Mine is just to remind you guys about especially the participants who are in the Landscape Continental program or the Top 100 program. Tuesday sessions are mandatory for you, and so mine is just a reminder that every other Tuesday, kindly make sure that you've logged in to these meetings. Otherwise, as you remember what we said, that your attendance during these Tuesday meetings will form part of the basis of whether we are going to, say that you've completed the program. And out of the 13 sessions that are going to have this year or during our cohort, 9 you are supposed to attend at least 9 of them. So just remind you, make sure that you check your attendance, because this is going to feed into whether we are going to consider you to having finished the program or not having finished the program. Thank you.
Attendance form has just been dropped, so we'll leave the room open a little bit longer so you can access that link. It's right in the chat box right now. And we see that we still have 157 people with us, which is pretty much everybody. So please take out that attendance form and fill it out in the next 10 minutes, 10 or 15, okay?
Good. Thank you. Thank you so much. See you on Thursday. And also let's connect next week on Tuesday as well. Thank you so much. Do have a lovely evening. Bye for now.
Alhamdulillah, Arabla Lamina, Kikata no Bilamari.
I just wanted to share, if anyone is still here, check out the attendance form. It's in the chat box. Fill it out in the next 5 minutes. Shouldn't take you long. We really appreciate your feedback. Just wanted to share that with anyone who's still in the room. Thank you guys so much.
Malila mudi hewre yerse Lila mudi hewre yerse Yeter sabu yer koy Yeter sabu yer koy Yeter sabu yer koy Bangu boyer kamba Isabel bangu gerga Yeter sabu yer koy